What's goody? Hey man, what a game, bro. There was two games today. We were going to start off talking about the Nuggets and the Clippers because it was the better game, but also the way that it ended is so fresh in my mind because I literally just, the game just ended. Like, I'm talking about, as we speak right now, you got Stan Van Gundy still on the broadcast talking about how it ended. Like, the game just ended, bro, and I want to talk about this because it was one hell of a game. I said it Sunday, and I will say it again. I need this series to go 7. I absolutely need this series to go 7, bro. It has to, because this series is absolute cinema. First game, we get overtime. In this game right here, we get like a 2.3 point win by the Clippers, bro. I don't remember the final score. But on that last possession, that last shot of the game, Christian Braun, who do you think you are? You pass up the wide open 3, which I get. I'm not mad at you for passing up the wide open 3 because there was enough time left for a team like the Nuggets to either decide if they want to call a timeout or for you to try to get a better shot with a guy like Jamal Murray who you trust more. But for you to pass up that shot, to then pump fake and sidestep into his three-pointer, and you didn't even hit the rim. That shot clanked off the side of the backboard, and when I tell you it was the most disappointing clank. It was the most predictable clank I've ever seen in my life. I immediately texted in the group chat, who does Christian Braun think he is, in all caps, because dog, who does Christian Braun think he is? Because that was absolutely insane. Now, as y'all can see in the group chat, my friend Trevon said, do you like the no timeout there or no? I'm going to say yes. And let me tell you why I like the choice from David Adelman to not call the timeout there. When you have a defense as good as LA, with guys like Derrick Jones Jr., Kawhi Leonard, Chris Dunn, Zubac on Jokic, all of these guys who are really, really good defenders, you don't give them time, especially with the head coach that is as good and as defensive-minded as Tyronn Lue. You don't give them time to try to get a play there or to try to get their perfect defensive lineup in, and then they get the perfect opportunity to stop you with only 10 seconds left or less on the clock. You just don't give them that opportunity. You take the fast break opportunity that you have. You try to get the shot while their defense isn't ready for it. While their defense is trying to recover and everything like that. You try to get the shot there. I'm not mad at it. You generated a pretty good shot. You just don't want Christian Braun to be the one taking it. But bro, let's talk about this whole game. So let's start from the beginning. Early in the game, Kawhi and Zubac were the only offense for LA early. Now, Zubac did end up slowing down, but that was just more of him not being able to get shots up because he was still had an efficient double-double. It finished with a very good game, but in the beginning, it was really just him and Kawhi offensively. But in the early stages of the game, while it was just him and Kawhi offensively for LA, Denver's whole team was scoring. They were absolutely dominant on the fast break, but then for the rest of the game, when I tell you they damn near couldn't get a fast break point up until like the fourth quarter, later in like midway through the fourth quarter, they did not get a single fast break point after the first quarter until the fourth quarter. It was insane. Like I said, early in the game, it was just Kawhi and Zoo. Well, James Harden early in the game was loose with the ball. I think he had 3 turnovers in like 3 minutes. Like, it was bad. He had 3 assists and 3 turnovers by the time the Clippers called like their first timeout. Like, it was nuts, bro. He was absolutely loose with the ball. Had 0 points, but then in the second quarter, he bounced back, scored 8 or 10 or something, maybe even 12 in the second quarter, and then from there just had a very good, very efficient rest of the game, finished with a good game. I was a little worried about James Harden going into this one because James Harden, especially in the last few years, has been a guy that in the playoffs, if he gets you a 30-point game like he did in game 1, the next game might be 7 points. And this game, it started to look like it was going to be one of those 7 points, but then it ended up being a good game for him, so props to you, James Harden. That's good for you. Clippers were down by a pretty decent margin. Like, it was single digits, but it was like 7-8. It was something around there in the first quarter to end the first quarter. And then Jokic goes to the bench, and the Nuggets didn't score for like 4 or 5 minutes, and the Clippers stormed back and got up. And the Nuggets offense without Jokic was just abysmal, bro. But another thing that I want to talk about that was abysmal in this game, Bogdanovich can't play minutes. Bogdanovich cannot play. I'm sorry. In the fourth quarter, he was a little better. He got that steal on Westbrook, who just lost the ball. And he did some good defensive things there in the fourth quarter where he wasn't just completely ass in the fourth. But I'm talking about for those first couple minutes in the second quarter when he was in, it was absolute ass. He literally looked like the worst player on the court. And it was like that for a lot of the minutes where he was in the game. I'm just not sure how many more minutes Ty Lue can get from him. And that lineup where it was him and Batum on the floor at the same time, nah. Can't happen. Didn't like it. It was ugly. It allowed that was at a point where the Nuggets had got the lead back when that lineup was in, and I just can't. I don't want to see that lineup touch the floor ever again for this team, at least not against the Nuggets. Kawhi Leonard, a guy we talked about how he was hooping early, the man was on an absolute burner. He missed like 4 total shots, and like 3 of them were in the fourth quarter where James Harden was out, and it was that lineup that had Bogdanovich and Batum in, and he was just absolutely trying to get something going because other than Norman Powell hitting a few floaters and a big 3 in that fourth quarter, and that big 3 was when James Harden was back in the game. Other than Norman Powell hitting a few floaters while that lineup was in, there was absolutely nobody else doing anything offensively. And then Zubac did start to step up. He hit some floaters over Jokic and whatever in the middle of the paint. But like for a while, it was just Kawhi forcing up tough shots. And the dude was making them. When he has it going offensively, he is one of my top 5 favorite players to watch. And that's been a thing for most of his career, but especially since he brought my Toronto Raptors a ring. Dude absolutely went out there and played like he knew this was a must-win game, and they got the win, and that is in large part because of Kawhi Leonard. And the guy who got the Kawhi Leonard assignment for a lot of the game was Aaron Gordon, and he just didn't have his best game. I don't know if that calf was bothering him or what. Missed a huge dunk that would have took the top off of Ball Arena late in the fourth quarter. He didn't have an efficient game. He wasn't rebounding great. Kawhi, I mean, I'm not mad at him for Kawhi torching him because that's Kawhi Leonard. You know what I'm saying? Like, Kawhi Leonard could really torch anybody when he has it going, so I'm not really too mad at him there. But it just wasn't Aaron Gordon's best game. Norman Powell, like I said, he hit some big shots late before a majority of the game offensively. He was playing like absolute ass, couldn't get anything going. And one thing I really want to talk about here that happened, I want to say it was in the third quarter. It was actually in the third quarter. I remember vividly. Jamal Murray and Norman Powell get into a bit of a scuffle. Jamal Murray kind of picks him up or whatever. And somehow, after all that, it's the Clippers that get punished and Jamal Murray ends up shooting a free throw. What? I don't care about the rules. I don't care about anything with that. That doesn't make sense. Another thing that Van Gundy said on the broadcast where I don't care about the rules, and I completely agree with him. You can go back, and this is something I think we all know. You can go back on a call where there's an out-of-bounds call, right? You can go back and assign a foul on that call before the out-of-bounds. But when you call a foul, you go back and you see Russell Westbrook step out of bounds on the sideline, and you can't call that out of bounds? So you can call it out of bounds and then go review it and call a foul, but you can't call a foul and then go review it and call out of bounds? Doesn't make sense. The NBA has some things that I just hate to see, and we're going to talk about the NBA rules with that Knicks game and Jalen Brunson because I have a lot to say about that. But after that scuffle, I don't know if Adam Silver put in a call or what, but the refs absolutely seemed like they started to take over the game. It just started to seem like they called like 4 back-to-back fouls, and it was on both teams. Like they were just calling foul after foul after foul through that third quarter and even into the fourth, and I just hated that because it was such a chippy game, and it was like Adam Silver just wanted to get a little bit more of a control on it, and I just didn't like it. It felt like the refs started to take over that game, and I'm not a fan of that ever. Russell Westbrook, man, a guy that had some dumbfounding moments in game 1, and he always has some dumbfounding moments, but ended up having a really good, really impactful game. Ended up having a really good, really impactful game here, and especially with hitting those corner threes, bro. When they were having, the Clippers were picking their poison, and every time they were like, hey, we're going to let Westbrook shoot that hole. Well, today he was making them. Now, it didn't end up burning them, thankfully for the Clippers, and thankfully for me, because I picked the Clippers to win the series, and I think we all know that wasn't going to happen if they would have gone down 2-0. But, man, Russell Westbrook ended up having a really good game, and he's one of the most interesting players to watch because there are times where Russell Westbrook does something that is absolutely maddening to me, and then there are times where it's like I'm cheering for the other team, and he's pissing me off because he's doing everything right in a big moment, and it's just like he's one of the most interesting players to watch. I'll put it like that. MPJ played big, had a great game. I think he finished with 15 and 15. I hope that shoulder injury he has or whatever injury that they determined he has isn't bad that kept him out for the last minute or two of the game. Hope that's not too bad, but he played big. He shot pretty efficiently, got a lot of rebounds, just played big, hit that open 3 late in the game to give the Nuggets some momentum to tie the game for the Nuggets, so that was huge. Jamal Murray played big. Jokic had a decent game, but it's just like the Clippers continue to hold him to lower scoring averages than almost any other team in the league, and they continue to force him to turn the ball over more than any other team in the league does, so that's just interesting. And then something I noticed in game 1 with Jokic, but it continued here, and not just with Jokic, but with the whole Nuggets team, a lot of missed free throws. So that's something they're definitely going to have to get under control because that's really interesting. On to Pistons-Knicks. And I want to start with the fourth quarter here before we start talking about the first. Jalen Brunson had a really good game. He was really the only offense the Knicks could get in the clutch besides that last three-pointer, which at that point the game was over. They were already down 4. It was really the Mikal Bridges 3 that was missed. That was really the one that really hurt the Knicks, but I don't think any of us were really confident in that shot going in because not only could Mikal Bridges not hit a 3 to save his life, I just didn't really believe in him to have that clutch gene like that. But the one thing that I really, really hate about Jalen Brunson's game is the foul baiting. And it's just the way that he does it looks so ugly and makes it so easy to hate. Because first of all, didn't the NBA say a few years ago, like 2 years or maybe last year, they were going to stop those fouls where you have an offensive player pump fake and then you have the defensive guy jump towards them but not quite into them, but the offensive guy jumps forward into them? Didn't they say they were going to start calling that an offensive foul because it was like an unnatural launch angle or something like that? Like, I'm pretty sure I even saw that get called in the Warriors game. Well, when Jalen Brunson does it, it never gets called on Jalen Brunson. It is always on the defense, and it has to be one of the most infuriating things I've ever watched. And it is the main reason Ausar Thompson fouled out because, bro, Ausar Thompson got at least 3 foul calls that were just phantom fouls, where it's Jalen Brunson falling by himself, or it's Jalen Brunson doing something that literally breaks the rules of the NBA. And this man, Jalen Brunson, did it one time, and this is what really pissed me off, bro. As somebody who was a fan of the way Jalen Brunson was playing today, this really pissed me off. He does it, and I don't remember if it's to like Tobias Harris or Ausar Thompson. I think it was to Ausar Thompson, but it's in the fourth quarter. He does it from beyond the three-point line, and he jumps into the defender, and he looks at the ref immediately. Ball doesn't get anywhere near the rim. He looks at the ref immediately and goes like this, or it was something like that, like this. It was something like that. He holds up 3 fingers and is just smiling at the ref, and I'm like, it's just... I hate to use this term, but dude, it's unethical hoops. As a guy who's a huge Steph Curry fan, as a guy that's a huge fan of players that don't foul bait a ton, like Kevin Durant, like Steph Curry, like Kobe Bryant, and Kobe did get to the line a lot, but he didn't do... He would do what Jalen Brunson does, but it's not to the extreme. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just... Kobe was playing in a much more... Kobe was getting actually, like, roughed up physically and everything like that, and the only times where Kobe would do it, it would be the defender actually jumping on top of his back to a Kobe pump fake. Where when Jalen Brunson does it, it's a pump fake, and the defender will be a foot away from him, and he will jump forward into the defender, and I hate watching it, bro. It literally pissed me off so bad, and I hated it. But now, back to the first quarter. Let's start from the beginning. The Knicks offense, when Cade and Brunson was on the bench, it was just a few minutes of a sample size, maybe not even a few minutes, but it was bad. Like, they couldn't get a good shot. Nobody was scoring. It was just really, really bad. And Mikal Bridges early was cooking pretty well. And that did give the Knicks some offense, but he ended up just having a terrible night from 3. He ended up shooting pretty inefficiently, especially from deep. I think he finished 3-4-11, something like that. Early in the game, Detroit, not just early in the game, just throughout the game, Detroit had too many fast break turnovers. But early in the game, when they were up, it was letting New York stay in it. It was letting New York stay within double digits. It was giving the Knicks hopes because they were just, you could see the youth. You could literally just see the youth of the Pistons, and that the moment was just like they weren't ready. Not ready for the moment, but it's just one of those things where it's like their offense wasn't good enough to, what am I trying to say? Their scoring offense in the half court outside of Cade Cunningham isn't good enough to overcome those youthful turnovers. And that's just, it was very obvious that those turnovers were really, really hurting them. But thankfully for them, Tobias Harris had a good game in game 1. And I was really worried about that because I was like, damn, you end up losing that game. How many more Tobias Harris good games can you count on? Well, he had another good game here. It wasn't quite as good. And in the end, the moment did start to look a little too big for him where he might turn the ball over. He's just missing shots or whatever. But Tobias Harris ended up having a pretty good game, and it was good that he did because they did need him to, especially with Tim Hardaway Jr. Couldn't buy a 3. I don't think the man hit a shot. Like, I think he was like 0 for 8 from 3, finished with 0 points. Tim Hardaway Jr. was ass. Like, you might have to start Malik Beasley, bro. Like, Tim Hardaway Jr. was literally just ass. It was really, really bad, and it wasn't a fun watch every time he put up a shot. But then on the other side of Tobias Harris having another good game like he did in game 1, it was OG Anunoby who didn't have as good of a game as he did in game 1. Now, he did pick it up in some bigger moments, and it was just really interesting because it's like Suni Lee was courtside, and then he had a worse game this game than he did last game, and you know the memes with him and Suni Lee and everything like that. And a guy that I really want to talk about for the Pistons, dude, Dennis Schroeder, dude. Dennis Schroeder had such a good game. His vet presence down the stretch for the Pistons was just so crucial. He was hitting big shots, hit a big three towards the end of the game, but was also just helping keep the team so composed. And that just shows why you need vets on a team that's this young, dude. It shows why you need good, solid vets, especially smart ones that are like point guards, like a guy like Dennis Schroeder. You just needed that. And then offensively for the Knicks, and this isn't really, it wasn't so much a slight at the Knicks, it was more of a credit to the Pistons. Dude, the Pistons defense was forcing the Knicks into tough shot after tough shot. And unfortunately for them, Jalen Brunson was making them hoes and bailing the Knicks out. Now, thankfully, they ended up winning the game. But, dude, Jalen Brunson was really on a tear. And that's what pisses me off so much about the foul baiting stuff is because he was scoring so well naturally without the foul baiting that it's just like he does it. And I'm like, it just turns me off. I'm like, dude, I just don't, you're ruining it for me. You know what I'm saying? Speaking of fouls, the Knicks were fouling far too much. And I know you're going to look at the free throw shooting count. You're going to be like, how are you complaining about Jalen Brunson foul baiting when the Pistons shot twice as many free throws as them? Because the Pistons weren't foul baiting. They were just getting fouled. Like, the Knicks were fouling them far, far too much, whereas Jalen Brunson was foul baiting. It's a different thing. And this was just a much more defensive and also a much more fast-paced game. And I think both of those things proved out to be in favor of the Pistons here. And it was like every time that the Knicks got even a little bit of momentum in the Garden, the Pistons were able to just chill them out and were able to get a layup. And Cade was able to hit a tough shot or get to the free throw line and do something to kind of get the crowd out of it and not allow for the crowd to take over and allow for the Knicks to come back and get one of those 21-0 runs like they had in game one. There was a whole bunch of turnovers from both teams, and it was really good for the Pistons that they were able to force just as many turnovers as they gave up because, like I said, they gave up a ton of turnovers. And speaking of the Pistons, man, Cade hooped, balled, absolutely went out there and showed his ass. That man proved that he is one of the best players in the world. He proved that, well, I'm not saying he's like a top 5 player, but he proved that he's one of the best point guards in the world, easily one of the best point guards out east. Just was an absolute point guard battle tonight, and I love that. Cat had a terrible game. Well, not a terrible game, just didn't have a good game, wasn't nearly aggressive enough, didn't put up as many shots as you wanted to. He didn't score a single point in the second half. Granted, he didn't get the ball too much in the second half, but like at the same time, that was just part of the defensive scheme, it seemed like, for the Pistons, was that they weren't really letting him get the ball. They weren't letting him get to the point where he could put up shots that he was comfortable with, so he just didn't end up having a good game. And honestly, Paul Reed, in those like 11 to 13 minutes that he played, he was way more impactful than I thought Cat ever was during this game, and it was just really interesting to see. But hey, Paul Reed played a good game. Can't be mad at that. Pistons were dominant on the glass. And there was one scary moment when Asar Thompson fouled out when I kind of already talked about this a little bit, but dude, Asar Thompson fouled out and the Knicks just immediately went on a little bit of a run, and that was when things got scary. I was like, dude, are the Pistons going to blow it? Are the Pistons going to let them go on a run for the second straight game? And it was really worrisome. I mean, I had the same thought about the Clippers towards the end of that Nuggets game. I was like, dude, are y'all going to let them come back and beat y'all? Now, this one, it wasn't a 15-point comeback, even if the Clippers would have lost. But still, I was like, dude, are y'all going to let the Nuggets just beat you in crunch time? That's how I felt about this Knicks game. I was like, dude, are y'all going to just Asar Thompson fouls out and then you just let the Knicks come back? Like, is that what we're doing, bro? And I thank God that's not what happened. And like I said, nobody but Brunson was really scoring in the clutch. And then New York, they had chances with the Mikal Bridges 3 and everything like that, and they couldn't capitalize on them, which is tough. But I mean, I don't think that's really too shocking because, you know, I was really critical of the Mikal Bridges first round pick things when it happened, and yeah, it definitely hasn't aged the best. So, you know, it's really interesting because Kevin Durant's not even going to get he probably won't even get 3 first-round picks this summer, and Mikal Bridges was warranted 5. Now, it's different because the Suns aren't in a rebuild, whereas the Nets are entering a rebuild, or at least they were supposed to be. I mean, they won more games this year than they were supposed to, so it's different, but it's just like, man, Mikal Bridges has been a very interesting player this season, and especially in the playoffs so far. It's been interesting. I'll put it like that. But yeah, man, it was a great day of hoops. I'm looking forward to 3 games tomorrow, 3 games Wednesday, man. I'm looking forward to a lot of hoops. I think that's it. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for watching. All glory to God as always, man. Rest in peace to Pope Francis. And yeah, I'm excited for some hoops. Good dub for the Clippers. Good dub for the Pistons. All right.